I know some teams in the past have actually even requested what is the exact height and length and depth of the setups. What monitors are they, you know? They try to replicate and mimic those setups. So when they're scrimming and training at home, it's the same environment. And, you know, we did have that bug earlier. There was a bug. There was a situation where that bug happened, and the bug has been banned.
Are you stealing my joke? Is that what you're doing?
Trying to, ever so slightly. I mean, Lee Sin is still available, so the silliness of yours. But yes, Talon Kha'Zix off the table, and the sword is mightier than the pen when Camille is in-game.
That's such a
Therefore,
stretch. Stop trying.
The pen is mightier than the sword for this game because Camille's sword legs are not there.
All right, old man, enough dad jokes.
Yeah. I don't know who uses pens these days because everything's going digital.
I do. I'm using a pen right now. Right, Rengar. He's been banned away. So now this leaves a lot of things available in terms of the Zyra is still up, the Rumble is still up. You could also look to prioritize the Nautilus if you're Giants. It was very successful for Flaxish. Shen too. Thinking of possible AD carries depending on how much value you want to put on them. Varus and that also could be an early rotation for Giants.
It's extremely important, the Shen, for the Giants lineup. The only champion that Flaxish has a positive win-loss ratio on is Shen. 3 wins, 2 losses to his name. And the Giants squad that did pick themselves up 8 game wins this split. Shen was involved in 3 of them. Origen once again, early rotation that Lulu. Do you just go Ezreal? Do you lock in a contested jungler?
No. I think you definitely go jungle here. If you're Syncroft, I think Yo should be the one to take the Lee Sin. As we talked about, it is the champion that he seems to have demonstrated the most confidence on. And it also takes it away from Memento, forcing him onto something that's more likely going to be the Graves. Synergizes nicely with the Lee Sin, especially with Rengar taken off the table. You don't quite have that same sort of engage potential. So you'll have good wave clear, but you don't have to lock the Graves in right now. I think that either a Zyra Graves here, or maybe a Varus Graves could also work out for Giants, or maybe they just take a risk and they go for the Varus Zyra.
Or not.
Or not.
Or not. Early game for early game. Gonna go for the Elise. Locking in. Let's see what Memento can do. I think his Lee Sin kicks in the late game were decent, though he was never needed to do anything more, right, in the early game. Syncroft was unable to get a good early dive off, and Giants will round out their phase 1 picks in 5 seconds time. Hovering between the ADCs, and they're going to go for that initiation power on Ashe. I like this. Ashe Arrow, Cocoon, Shadow Dash Taunt, etc.
So all of your favorite buzzwords. But also this means that he doesn't have to flash for the engagements. His arrow can travel much further than the Varus ultimate can, but it doesn't quite spread to the same capacity. Regardless, it is still another form of engagement for the side of Giants. Right now, Origen, they're considering getting themselves a strong top lane. So this will do very nicely for Origen in terms of having powerful lanes. You're already looking at Lulu. You can actually go for Lulu Varus, so give you a lot more wave kill, a lot more trading power in the early game. In the bottom for Origen, they have the Rumble up top lane, who'll do absolutely fine. Push the Shen very hard underneath the turret. And you have an early game jungler to facilitate a lot of these early laners. The question is, Origen, can you make something happen in the early game? Because you did not at all.
Well, the team comes so far is screaming maybe, right? Like there's options here. Lee Sin plus Rumble plus TPs, there's some power tools. Varus has been taken off the table, so Tabs won't get his hands onto that one. Ezreal is still available. Zyra was banned, so Huston's going to have to fall back to a different champion. If they want to go for those pushing lanes, maybe Karma? Or what else do you think is a possibility?
Oh yeah, Karma's absolutely fine for Huston. I think that it's a safe pick.
Not anymore, it's not.
No, okay, so Origen pinching that pool. Now I'm actually thinking of Huston actually moving more towards a melee support. When I think back to it, he's actually played a lot of Nautilus during the regular season, still available. Very unlikely to go top lane, given that we already have the Shen, unless we see the sudden resurgence of Shen support. You also have the Lulu as well. Lulu's a little bit out in terms of push, but you have a lot more trading power to compensate. Quite a few options still available. If you're Origen right now, though, I think that you just lock in your AD carry. You could go for the Ezreal. Alternatively, you could go for a Caitlyn, which would give you a little bit more laning prowess and a little bit more wave clear.
Well, Tabs has been a very comfortable Ezreal player all split long. Has played, I think it was 6 games during the regular season. Yes, double checking that one now. 1 win, 5 losses. He played his 7th game just a moment ago, and this will now be his 8th. Again, mid-game power spike. I mean, last game it was the man immune into Triforce, plus Rumble, plus Lee, plus Lulu. I really think that's shaping up well if Origen can make those proactive plays. And that's what I want to see. I want to see them grouping up and actually successfully pulling off those dives. Not like Synchro and Sartorius in the previous game, where Flaxish outplayed with a great disengage 1v2.
I like that Origen going a little bit more towards the teamfight comp, and ooh, bit of a throwback from Knight, going back to one of his most played mid laners very early onto the split, picking up a lot of Corki early on in the season, often getting caught out here and there, but it was one of his big comfort picks, something that was actually very regularly banned away against him. Given that it can go off to a side lane. It does very nicely set up for the 1-2-1, and Giants, they've drafted themselves a bit of a mid-game composition, which is very much about pick and poke and siege, but it's not going to have the same sort of team-fighting power that they had in Game 1.
No, it won't. I mean, 3 games at the beginning of the split. Giants has got, I believe, 6 professional games in the last 2 splits in the EU LCS on Corki. Nautilus will once again be locked in for Hustlin, so a very beefy front line. 2 AD carries to work with. Mixture of damage, maybe they could run out of damage. Luckily for Giants, there's no real tank on the side of Origen, so they don't have to worry too much about burning through that front line. And Nahyun, he's going to get his hands on Victor this time around. Safe, reliable mid laner.
Origen more so with the teamfight composition this time. Again, because you're playing with Lulu Ezreal, you always have the ability to be a little bit more slow and steady when it comes to the fight. You always want to be aware of the fact that Ezreal doesn't as reliably do a huge amount of consistent damage compared to someone like a Varus, because a lot of his damage comes from his Q and the Sheen procs. However, given that you have a Rumble and a Victor on top of that, it just means that you're guaranteed mid to late game damage. Really good wave clear and an ability to try and make things happen.
And that's what we need to see. Very slow out the gates in Game 1 of the best of 5 for both Origen and Giants, right? This is not a one-sided discussion. Both teams they kind of like agreed to this armistice, or this passivity pact, if you will.
Time of Zen.
There we go, time of Zen, in which Giants were able to focus significantly better. They ended up winning in 50 minutes in game number 1. Have the advantage as we load up for game number 2. You can see Sartorius and Synchro just chatting a little bit of strategy as the Rumble Lee Sin combos up. That could be the make or break lane for this Rumble squad. For this Rumble squad? For this Origen squad, with Rumble leading the way.
Well, that could be a good lane to try and get ahead, shutting the Shen down, preventing him from trying to make that level 6 play down in the bottom lane will be a big determining factor. But I want to see some early game action. Memento, you're on the Elise. Synchro, you're on the Lee Sin. Let's see what these 2 junglers can bring out. Remember that Giants do currently lead the series, if you have only just joined us. And both of these teams, loser is relegated.
That's the case. Down to the challenger scene as we see the player cams and their champions loading up into game number 2 in the losers bracket of the European LCS Summer Promotion Tournament. There goes Lulu once again for Expecka. He had some decent interrupts with Wild Growth in game 1. He'll need to do better in game 2 if he wants to help his failing LCS squad on the stage and keep the opportunity alive to return to the LCS. All right, let's take a look. It is a defensive fan in the early game. We know Origen's team comp, it is very comfortable. Something we see, I feel like, fairly often these days, this style with Rumble and all damage. On the Giant squad, though, there's double ADC. How are they going to play the early to mid-game out?
Farming. There will be lots of farming. It's just what you have to deal with when you're playing with a Corki and an Ashe. They're very much revolved around getting the item spikes that we love to talk about. Trinity Force for the Corki. After the... for a while, we saw early Gunblades into Trinity Force builds from Corki. We also then saw the Abdo build, where he was going Trinity Force, Infinity Edge Rapid Fire Cannon, which was like the pinnacle of damage. But then Corki received a bunch of nerfs. A lot of his damage was reduced here and there. He had a lot of increase in cooldowns, and that's why a lot of people moved away from him. But it's one of those things where pro players, a champion gets nerfed, they think that, oh no, it doesn't work anymore. And then when they actually try it, they realize, it's not that bad. He's still really good at what he used to do.
It could work.
It could work.
Despite the nerfs, and that's what we're going to find out. I mean, Knights and Giants, they've got themselves a game lead, a buffer. a little bit of comfort, and with the Karma and the Zyra band away, Origen's army is out to support them. I'm just looking at hustling on this Nautilus, plus the wave clear and the early pressure of Ashe. I mean, that's a pretty comfortable lane, Ashe Nautilus, at least in the opening levels.
I mean, it definitely... so normally in the early levels, what you would expect is the Lulu to have a little bit more control, especially with an Ezreal. Their trading power is very strong. But you are right in the sense that there is a lot of push, because you can just walk up to the minion wave, you throw out the volley, you have the Riptide from Nautilus 2. But regardless, for the time being, EQ and Hustlin are the ones in control, very similar to what we saw in Game 1. And vice versa up on the top side of the map with Sartorius applying pressure, utilizing that high damaging flame spitter to force Flaxish.
Yeah, keep Flaxish under his tower. I mean, Synkrov, if he wants to look for some sort of dive, could work, but you don't really want to dive a Shen. Spirit's Refuge plus that taunt is game-changing at these early stages. Got those Rejuvi beads. It's for a lot of support, and Synkrov trying to get a bit cheeky, maybe.
Gank, gank!
Not really going to work out. Some pings going down, so no opportunities yet for Synkrov in this Origen squad. I'll keep our eyes on Knight and how he scales up. He's got an exhaust. Hustlin has got Ignite. No exhaust on the side of Origen. I guess against two ADCs and not really like burst damage. That kind of makes sense.
So I actually went back and looked at the early pathing from Synkrov, who's a very unique path from Raptors into Wolves, into then red and clearing up his entire top side. So I think that the rationale from Synkrov was that he wanted to give the impression to Giants that he was starting on the top side. They end understanding that he was top side, so then he's going to be looking to move bot. And that resulted in Hiku and Hustlin moving up a lot towards the river. You can see that they've dropped this ward around the blue buff because they want to be aware of, oh, could Synkrov look to try and gank us as we're force pushing this bottom lane? But in actuality, Synkrov just wanted to be around the top half of the map in the event that Memento is the one trying to come and get a gank. So that's why he was then able to get a few deep wards around the river in order to prepare.
Well, Memento's in the river, so if Spec and Tab stick around, maybe there's an opportunity. Memento, though, somewhat undecided. He was moving middle, now he's moving bottom. There's a number of pings in behind Tabs and Peke. And Memento may get himself an uncontested blue buff here. So this should be a 3-buff start for Memento. Ashe, the hawk shot from Hiku's Ashe flies across the rift, gives the information, and early advantage for Memento and the Giant squad.
Comes off the back of the pathing that Synkrov did take. He realized he couldn't try and look for his blue buff anymore after the bottom lane of Giants had already gotten that deep vision down. There was the possible risk of the collapse, but now we see
Memento, por favor. Here comes the Cocoon. Flash, flash. Cocoon catches Tabs. The dredge line catches Peke. Tabs arcane shifts and flashes to safety. Giants first blood.
This is exactly what Synkrov was preparing for in the top half of the map, and what Giants were trying to deal with in the anticipation of him moving towards the bottom. And now Synkrov has been caught.
He has indeed. Where's the support? Knight can come in from the jungle. Synkrov is going to ward hop to safety. He just gets bullied away. Nothing, not even a comment. You don't like my line, my call? Uno Memento? I mean, you're not going to...
Yeah, it was,
you're not going to top that one.
It was great French, really liked it. Now Synkrov is trying to control a little bit more of the top half. He wants to steal away some of these camps to try and rectify the fact that they did end up losing first blood. But I am surprised that Origen weren't expecting this. The fact that they pushed up so far in the bottom lane, that Synkrov was in the top half, so they know they didn't have that security, and the likelihood of Memento going to steal away this blue buff should have been communicated. The ward literally just runs out. Enough time for Origen to realize, oh no, there is a spider in the bottom lane. She has in fact climbed down the water spout and is now viciously biting into my neck.
Yeah, and that means first blood to Giants. Who actually picked it up? It was Hiku as well, so arguably the best person in that lane.
Indeed.
To pick that up. Cutlass already secured for Hiku, and he's going into the tier double longswords control ward for Origen's bottom lane. And Synkrov still looking for an opportunity. I mean, it is tough because Sartorius is pushing top, Tabs and Peke were pushing bottom, so he didn't necessarily have a huge amount of options in the opening few minutes.
I think that Synkrov's main early game priority has been, I do not want Sartorius to die. I want to make sure that he has a healthy laning phase. I want to make sure that he's gotten himself a good advantage over the Shen because we're relying on him to be this big team fight power. Now, Origen are moving their bottom lane up to the top half of the map because this is a standard play that you do into Shen. The thing you have to be very careful of is the possibility of a Shen ultimate coming down into the bottom lane after an initiation from an Ashe arrow, and then you have some serious trouble. So they're just moving up lane to try and deal with that.
And Xpeke is going to be forcing away Flaxish. Sonic Wave comes down. Stand United baited out, and it looks like Sartorius, he's teleported in. Nahyun's thrown down the Chaos Storm a little earlier, not available. Now Sartorius is overheating and spitting flames in the face of Memento. Peke's on the board, he gets a kill, shuts down Memento. First of the game for Origen.
Origen overstayed. Memento overstays his welcome just a little bit, and Origen successfully collapsed down upon him. Sartorius, he'd used his teleport knowing that they could get that pick down onto Memento, and they claw themselves back a kill. Very similar to what we saw in game 1.
Yes, indeed. That's not the end of the world. I mean, the fact that it's Peke that gets the kill for Origen. Teleport expended for Sartorius, and that means Flaxish will have a TP advantage if anything else breaks out. And this Stand United will be available before Sartorius' TP as well. Here's a replay. Keep your eye on the minimap as you'll notice Giants and OG starting to collapse around this mid lane river. Yeah,
there's the teleport very deep in the half of Giants' jungle. And then Memento, he doesn't want to pass through the middle lane because he's afraid of Nahyun, who doesn't even have his ultimate up anyway. But then he's thinking, oh, okay, I'm actually going to trap myself in between Syncroft and Nahyun. So he's forced them to pass through the river, which is not any better, unfortunately, for Memento. Now, in terms of returning to the lanes, Giants still are currently holding on to the goal lead from that first blood. They've moved, or they've reset the lanes. And this has resulted in Hiku and Huston being able to hit the tower first.
It has. It'll get a lot of chip damage down. We caught a quick glimpse of Knight moments ago. He's going to be making his way back into lane and going to have the potential to sort of roam with the help of the package, get to those side lanes, help to push out any of those towers. If and when Giants decide to do so. But we've got a race for tower first blood. Origen have more members on the bottom lane, so it looks like they're going to win this one.
Well, it's a tense battle. Who's going to get it?
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it wasn't really that tense.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I mean, 4 versus 2. I think you overhyped that one, Vedius.
Well, you set me up for the hype, man.
Fake news. Need to verify the sources. But yeah, tower trade, it's not done yet because Origen with the 4-man stack, they're at risk of being collapsed on.
Looks like here comes the Corki. Question is, does he have the package? Nothing is going to come off the back of that. So, a few tense moments in the early game. At least Origen, they're responding to the pressure from Giants. I like the movements. They'd already seen that Giants' bottom lane was returning to top. They knew that Giants wanted the reset on the 2 versus 2 matchup. And with Ashe up in the top side and Origen forcing the Shen underneath his tower, they've actually used this as an opportunity to say, hey, maybe we can get ourselves an early dragon.
So Origen going to be on the board, that objective at least. A little bit of a late game insurance policy. Yeah. 10 minutes in, very even game once again. I'm looking at itemization. Blade of the Rune King completed for Hiku.
Ooh, that is early.
It is indeed. Tower first blood plus first blood helps out. Knight a slightly more defensive start with that Hex Drinker. And then we can expect the Trinity Force next. And we've seen a couple of Corkies here and there in the LCK. Trinity Force is always sort of the core item, and then you can vary and mix it and match, like you mentioned as well, you know, different styles of build.
It's interesting that recently we actually saw Tabs go for, I believe it was Tabs, went for a first item Blade of the Rune King rather than the first item Trinity Force, which I think is a little baffling on a champion like Ezreal. It does give you that early spike in damage, but if you are going for like the mid-game spike that has more impact, I would argue that the Trinity Force is a better buy. But regardless, Sartorius, he's now the one in trouble.
We'll find out, because nobody's really behind him. He's respected the Giants' threat enough and backed away.
It's actually really good for Giants because they'd already prepped in the bottom lane. Oh, here comes the arrow.
Optimistic. Is that worse or better than missing a Chain of Corruption? It's tough, isn't it? Because it's not apples for apples.
He didn't cost his flash.
Okay.
But I think that any skill shot missed could arguably be equally bad.
I like that.
They're not going to lose anything for it, right? Yeah. Like, they're still going to get themselves the tower, they just won't get a kill, and they'll even get a flash.
There we go. Depth Charge will secure the flash this time around. Tower secured by Giants. It looks like it will be traded by Origen, so both teams accelerating the mid game. making all of these objectives fall over one after the other. I'm looking at the mini-map, and there are a ton of wards across the map. All right, we'll talk about that in a moment, because Sartorius may be at risk here. Stand United being channeled into Memento. The Cocoon connects. The bonk comes down from the passive. And Nautilus, with the help of Memento's Elise, gets the kill.
So a series of events occurred for Giants. They threw out the Ash Arrow, it doesn't land. Sartorius feels a little bit more confident. He feels more comfortable because now that Engage tool is unavailable for Giants, but he doesn't respect Memento and Huslin as they're just lying in wait. They take his flash down, and he's still sticking around this bottom tower. For some reason, Sartorius, he's not moving with the rest of his team. He's not helping them set up this push. And while they do equalize out on towers, it is still Giants that are getting themselves these kills.
Yeah, and of course, Giants will be able to play around these side lanes, maybe with the Elise, with Ash Arrows, with Shins. It would be very scary if they ever group up, though, and maybe the Victor Rumble becomes scary. I'm going to go back to that vision point that we're alluding to. If you look at all the control wards in the Origen inventory and in their jungle, take a look at how many were placed during game number 1.
Ooh.
Giants, 81 purchased, as Nahyun is actually maybe at risk. Yeah, all of a sudden, Tabs goes down. He's dropped by Memento, and Nahyun's going to back away.
Ooh,
so yeah, 81 to 55 control wards in a 50-minute game. That is a lot of wards.
Now, it's an interesting stat, because while it's true they're buying a lot of wards, are they buying that many because they're really bad at controlling their own vision, so they have to keep replacing it? Or are they constantly buying more vision because they're always looking to advance it, right? And I would argue that Giants, they actually had decent vision control, but because they were so poor at managing their sideways, Origen could very easily walk in and clear a lot of their objective control. But Giants are still buying a lot of vision because they know how important this vision control is, especially when it came to their composition. They wanted to force fights. They wanted to try and make stuff happen. And in order to do that, you need vision. So they not overcompensated, but they overprepared, right? They came ready.
Yeah, they definitely came ready, and that allowed Giants to win the game. We'll keep an eye on those control wards as the series plays out, because efficient use of vision is something that we have talked about with these bottom 4 LCS teams. Okay, Tabs kind of just walked into Giants a few minutes ago.
Tabs died.
Yeah, he did. And now Knight with the flanking Corki. This is the deadliest of Corkis. Let's see. He's got that special delivery. Had that special delivery. It's his own mini equalizer. Yep. Not quite as powerful.
Oh, we had to see a flashback of how Tabs face checked the brush.
Nahyun baited Tabs, basically.
He did. He's like, hey, Knight, let's go for a 1v1. But he's fighting over the vision, though, the controls we were just talking about. And then Tabs comes in. He's like, hey, I'll help. And then Nahyun's like, thanks for the help, dude. I did not have to eat the arrow myself. And it actually would have been better if Nahyun ate. He had cleanse. Man, Nahyun, that's not a nice thing to do.
Definitely not yelling, mine, mine, mine. Instead, Tabs yells it. And he gives up the 3rd kill of the game to Giants. It was picked up by, I believe, Memento. He's got himself some AP. He's going to go for that AP Elise, as we talked about. And Lady of the Rune King picked up by Tabs. Huslin, you're a support on a very brave warding mission, but he manages to walk away to safety as Origen don't overcommit for that kill.
Yeah, he's fine. Just trying to get a bit of... What am I trying to do? I don't know why I burst into song there. He's trying to get some vision down. Priority around the top half of the map for Giants right now. Not entirely sure why. They've sent Knight off to a top half, pushed out that minion wave. Bottom is being pushed out. This means that Giants will have side wave control as they look to try and contest, or they may very well concede this mid-tier 1.
Ash Arrow down the mid lane. Come on, Season 1 tactics, I believe. Fire it, fire it, fire it. Who is the target? Synkrov caught on the back end. That's going to be about Max Link. Caught out by the Cocoon. Able to flash away. The gravity field would have slowed down anybody in the equalizer. That just sends a line in the sand. Giants unable to do more. Tabs has picked up a kill onto Flaxish, and now Knight is running for his life. Origen almost lose Nahyun as they're peeling away. Hiku still on full HP.
But Giants, they still lose one member. They were the initiators of that engagement, and they are the ones that ended up falling short. The fact that Giants were not able to secure those primary targets, weren't able to get those kills, means that right now they do not have the control they want around the Dragon.
Yeah, Mountain Drake as well. Very juicy target. Origen are able to dissuade Giants from committing to that objective. Remember, both teams have their outer mid tower available. We have that weird lane swap shenanigans going on where both teams just agreed to trade 3 towers apiece. And we'll look at this replay again.
So keep your eyes on Sartorius in this fight, because not only is Tab safe, Synkrov is the main focus, and he's one of the most mobile players on the game, in the game. And then you have a really good Rumble ultimate onto all 3 members of Giants trying to follow up with the engagement. This completely stops the chase. And remember, they have a double AD carry composition. The whole point of this is very much towards sieging and poking. Trying to force a fight at this point in the game against a Rumble is such a difficult thing to do that Origen very swiftly took advantage of.
Yeah, very, very careful. Cannot afford to get jumped on in that way. And I mean, Origen looking a little better. This team composition seems to have a little more life in it than game number 1. It has to, right? They can't afford to just sit back, especially against the Shen. I want him to get to a point where he's somewhat unkillable. Origen, though, they committed for the Dragon positioning, and in doing so have given up positioning on this mid-outer turrets.
Origen, they're still looking to maintain control. A lot of their ultimates have recovered. Giants are using this as a window to...
What did they recover from, Vedius?
They've recovered control of the lane.
I like that their ultimates have recovered.
Oh, their ultimates have recovered. Yes, yeah. yes.
Refreshed?
Refreshed, returned.
Yeah, returned is a good one. I like that.
Have been reborn.
The ultimates, they were tired. They just wanted to lie down, gain a momentary respite from the action.
Drink, they had a pep talk with the team. They're like, hey guys, don't worry, we'll get it next time.
That's it. Origen, they get the Dragon this time, and Tabs' ultimate is spammed across the map, only to help clear out the wave.
So it is tired now. It's going to take a nap. Take it easy. To return later. Ready for action.
I'm trying to think of a line from that I can say that isn't inappropriate. I'm hitting a blank. Take a nap and then fire the missiles is basically what Origen want to do.
But you don't want Knight to fire his missiles, because he does have a lot and they hurt, especially now that he's finished the Trinity Force. Instead, he's turning to Nahue and he's like, yo, do you have any missiles in that hand of yours?
A little bit of interrupt there on HQ. Just being a frustration. As Pekis stops the recall. Knight has got red buff picked up. Gonna move into place to defend this tower, and Origen, they're not letting up the pressure. Good sidestep from Knight.
Ooh.
But he keeps getting shut down over and over.
Great sidestep as he takes all of that damage. Just he was in a very unfortunate position. Stuck between a wall and a laser, which means that as much as you sidestep, as much as you like, you still have to force the poke. Now that he's actually being forced to go back to base, a lot of the wave clear has disappeared for Giants.
Well, take a look at the vision. If we look at Giants' vision, a lot of deep wards inside that top quadrant. As Origen are grouped up in the mid lane, Sartorius is going to get caught up. That's a very, very good Valkyrie in. Knight is already looking for Sartorius. He's dropped, he got the equalizer down, but it simply won't do enough damage. Knight is chunked out by the Chaos Storm, and Origen, they're able to stay alive, but they've lost Sartorius.
And Origen, they couldn't even get themselves the tower. They felt confident in their ability to team fight, that they stuck around, and Giants, they tried again. They tried to make exactly the same move, but this time they've completed a lot of the items. The Trini Force done, the 2 items, the Runans completed for HQ. This time Giants had the damage in their repertoire in order to take down the front line of Origen.
Yeah, they defend their tower. Origen stick around in a 4v4. Memento is low enough that he had to get pushed outside of the defense. And it's just these, like, Origen just hell-bent on this mid lane tower. I mean, top has now been equalized. Yes, there was side lane pressure from Origen towards Giants, but every time they've grouped up for this push, Hiku's just waited and fired basically straight down the bowling alley with that ultimate and found a few kills.
It would be a lot easier for Origen if they were more versatile with their use of tabs on Ezreal. The great thing about Ez is that he's actually one of the safer AD carries to send off to a side lane, very similar to Corki, because he does have good mobility. His wave clear isn't the strongest, but you can at least send him off to start applying that side wave pressure, and then it forces the enemy team to respond to get that tower. And as OG are grouping up as a 5-man unit, you can see how Knight diving in with the Shen on top of him, he actually feels very confident, and this instantly forces Origen to back away. Look at how late this Chaos Storm came out from the side of OG. There was not enough communication from the lineup to be able to say, okay, I've been hit, let's turn around, let's get ready to fight because we can win it. Instead, they just abandoned their top laner, and it resulted in a kill going in favor of Giants.
Yeah, Origen eventually got the tower though, so it is currently 4-4. Giants were able to pick up that top inner turret at the cost of a dragon. That was the exchange several minutes ago. But Origen going to be happy. They're at least going to have sort of uncontested access to Giants jungle because there's no towers there. That's the implication I'm trying to go for. And Giants, they want to equalize at least this mid tower. Look at the mini-map. No support from Nahyun, so this should be an easy secure. Huston tanking it up, and Origen little bit napping in that defense.
I just don't know why you would send the Victor top lane and leave the Ezreal mid. There are 3 members of Giants in that middle lane, and your primary wave clear is this Victor. He literally throws the Death Ray down. No longer can Giants siege because their minion wave is gone. And now Tabs has disappeared.
He has indeed. It is just like shooting fish in a barrel. EQ firing down mid lane. He's found all 3 of his assists in that exact manner. Equalizer from Sartorius is decent. And Nahyun simply not available to party.
And now he doesn't have that for the wave either. Let's see if Nahyun can get close enough to be able to clear this one out, or if Giants can just force the tower.
All right, Death Ray and Chaos Storm, that's ticking away on EQ. Chaos Storm, one more proc. EQ's running, he's got a flash away from the ulti. If only Equalizer was available. Giants get their 6th tower of the game. Only the steps to Origen's base stand in their way.
But now Giants have to go back to base. Here comes the Ezreal ulti! And it goes one.
Okay, nice. I actually lost Hiku behind Memento there. I'm like, where did he go? I didn't see it. And Hiku manages to survive. Had to flash away from the ulti, and yeah, Giants 4,000 gold up. This time around, a lot more willing, to follow in those kills. And Hiku's accuracy in these Ash arrows, let's go, improved on the chain of
does help that
It has been a narrative point.
Tabs has his flash up, has heal up. I don't know if he had his E available, but I feel like you just have to show the respect. And if you see an arrow coming at you when the ping is super low, you do just press, I'm a flash that.
But he didn't, and he died, and that meant Giants got the tower. So
yes,
that is where we find ourselves.
Yes.
Do Giants risk going for Baron? This is the replay, of course.
So yeah, you can see flash, heal. He did not use them.
He's just trying to
Maybe his D key didn't work.
He was just trying to last hit. To go back to the question, Giants and Baron, it feels like you wouldn't want to get caught in the Baron pit against a Rumble Victor Ezreal.
That is a good assessment. QuickShot. I concur. I believe that is the dangerous place.
The danger zone, if you will.
Bit of a throwback. But that's a big window for Origen. I like to use windows in my metaphor. Let's say instead, it's a door of opportunity. Okay. Right? It's a door that they could use to walk through. But it's a question of whether or not Giants even need to, because they have the 1-3-1 setup. They know that in a side lane, Knight is pretty much uncontested at this point. You can see that he is going for the Apto build, likely working towards the Trinity Force, not the Trinity Force, the Infinity Edge as his final itemization. You have the Shen that can move off to the side lane that is away from Sartorius, and you never actually have to go to the Baron. You can just play around the map. And OG, they just desperately want to fight, and all Giants have to say is, nah, we're cool. We're cool.
You can see that Synchro playing very, very forward in lane, looking for that Sonic Wave, but didn't find the skill shot connect onto Knight. Knight had the package, Valkyrie, and Flash available, so a lot of options. And Origen, on the other hand, they are the ones that are now somewhat tunneling towards Baron, clearing out some of Giants' vision. There's a couple of control wards left in their inventory. You can see they're being placed and littered in the river. So Origen making their intentions known at 25 minutes.
They're getting the push on in mid so they can move around to Baron. Giants are forced to clear, so you have a bit of an edge in terms of getting that vision down, getting a bit of control. Now Giants, they're the ones that are being forced to check the Baron. And here we go, Origen looking for a fight.
All right, Ash Arrow to start. Hiki's been pretty good the last few times down mid lane. And Giants, 4-man strong, gonna clear out this wave, while Flaxish on Shen is pushing down. Synchro with Flash available, this time gets out of range of the anchor. Equalizer has already been used. Stand United was not channeled, so Giants gonna get a couple ultimates out of Origen. Equalizer and Wild Growth being the most important.
And you talked about how dangerous is this Baron QuickShot. Well, now Ezreal is down in the bottom lane. Rumble is going back to base with his ultimate now taking a nap. And this is Giants turning around and saying, hey, maybe this Baron is a slightly better prospect for us.
All of that vision that had been set up by Origen can now be contested and challenged, and at least the 2 control wards that I saw in the river have now been cleared out. Not the greatest amount of sort of, sweeping lenses available for Giants. They're going to back away, play this one safe. Again, Giants comfortable. You know, they're 5K up. They're in the lead. They've got superior map control because it's 6 towers to 4. And it just feels like whatever Origen do, Giants have an answer.
Yeah. It's thanks to the great control the Giants have had pretty much throughout the game. And it's just now about trying to force the advantage that you have, because we have these lulls in the game because teams don't properly know, or at least these two teams and the bottom 4 teams that we saw a lot during the regular season, don't fully know what to do when they only have a slight lead. And 5,000 is fairly substantial, but to Giants it probably doesn't feel as big as it looks to us here viewing, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, we have like absolute vision, so we can see all the opportunities they have.
And you look at the items and you think, oh, well, Shen, he's on 2.5 items, well, so is Rumble, right? You look at the mid laners, oh, well, Knight, he's on about 2.5, arguably 3 items, well, so is Nahun. So in terms of itemization and damage value, they still look very similar. So it's one of the reasons why Giants don't feel like they're as strong as they actually are.
Yeah, and like, it's just, put yourself into the feels of OG. Look at those goal differences. I mean, Tabs is about to get Flame Horizon, down nearly 100 CS,
Oof.
down several thousand gold. Actually, the majority of the gold lead for Giants is in Hiku's pockets.
Yes, it is.
Tabs is hemorrhaging gold in CS. However, keep in mind, Sartorius is picking it all up, right? Xpaco's down, Ash Arrow goes wide, doesn't matter. Syncroft is going to get dropped as well. Now Sartorius is the target. Flaxish and Memento looking for more. True Shot Barrage gets sidestepped. Flaxish has used his flash already, so he's looking for that flash taunt, not needed. 3 members of Origen simply caught out.
All of the ultimates are gone for Origen. The TP is available for Sartorius, but with 5 members strong, Giants, they're looking for the Baron.
Put yourself in Origen's shoes. It has been the single worst performance of any team in a European LCS in the regular split. They lose their first round of the promotion tournament 3-0. And now they're on the verge of going down 0-2 in the match that knocks them to Challenger Series.
To get picked off like that as well.
With the amount of games, the amount of experience, the amount of years under XPEKE's belt, it is simply unacceptable.
It is. I feel like that at this level of gameplay for Peke, that is not how he should be dying. I can understand that as a support, if he doesn't have the highest level of experience when it comes to the role in particular, but when you know that the enemy team is in mid lane and you can see them moving into your own jungle, like, you don't have to be a support main to know I should not be here.
Yep. Unfortunately, though, XPEKE has been caught out several times, many times in the last year. You know, his foray into 80 carry last year, his foray into support this year, it's tough. And Origen, the fans are behind them. You know, the fan vote, again, in favor of Origen winning. But unfortunately, just not showing up. You can see in your picture-in-picture, Duck the coach as well as Cyanide in the background.
But it's understandable, right? Origen, like, their story was one of the greats for Europe, because it was the era of Huni and Reignover, but it was also the era of Origen making it to a semifinals at Worlds. It was Sven, Mithy coming out of nowhere with the legendary XPEKE. They had Amazing and Soaz. This was a superstar lineup that performed incredibly well, and they went to the top, and now they're here. It is such a kind of a sad story for Origen.
It's bittersweet.
Yes.
You know, they truly have experienced the high highs of victory on some of the biggest stages on the planet. Right now, they are suffering the very low lows of defeat in the promotion tournament. Giants with Baron are sieging 3 separate lanes. Inhibitor turrets are being focused, and with the sizable lead and advantage that Giants have accrued, you know, just looking to knock over those last towers before Inhibitors. Look at the damage onto XPEKE.
No defensive stats, level 16 Knight. Well on his way to completing that Infinity Edge. Here goes the first tower. Giants, they've broken into the base, and there's
between the uprights. Goal! Origen managed to survive this time round. EQ gets kicked. The Chaos Storm is ticking away. EQ's down, but they've lost Syncrov. Equalizer's decent, cutting off the retreat. But look at Sartorius. He's trying to get the damage down. Knight on a triple kill before Nahyun drops him. Now in a 3-on-2. That's a hook. Nahyun's caught. The Riptide is ripping him apart. Triple kill for Nahyun. Sartorius gets one, cleans up the double. Origen with the ace, and they save their base.
Origen keep their inhibitor alive. They keep their hopes alive as they win a team fight, only losing 3 of their members to the 5 of Giants. Fantastic stuff for Origen, but I don't know if it's going to be enough.
This is what you said in picks and bans, Vedius. Origen have got themselves the makings of a team fight comp. And in a 5v5 against Baron buff and a 6,000 gold lead, Sartorius and Nahyun go huge.
But it is Syncrov that you really have to keep your eyes on. This guy, we talked about how, as a Lee Sin player, this has been his better performing jungler. And look at this kick onto Hiku. It so nicely sets up for Sartorius and Nahyun to just drop all of their damage down onto him. There was no escape for him, and even through the Shen ultimate, he ends up dropping, stopping Flaxis from being able to get into the base. And I saw Nahyun, the Penta was in his eyes. You can see triple kill, he was just like, oh, just one more hit onto Flaxis. She's like, no, I'll play it smart, I'll back away. And they are able, just because the Baron runs out, to keep that inhibitor safe and healthy. But it's only one team fight win. Origen need at least one more if they really want an opportunity to regain control of the game.
I only chuckle because I feel like they need a few more. But yes,
no, I would argue one more should be enough.
It all starts with one more team fight win. Nahyun's got a different build this time around. Rylai's into Lichbane. Infinity Edge is completed for Knight if he already wasn't hitting like a truck. I can see you wincing, grimacing in pain.
I'm not a massive fan of this build.
Which build?
The Lichbane build. The Lichbane, I think Lichbane is fine as like a 5th item for Victor. I guess it's not that bad. It's mainly just that it's built more towards skirmishing and you get a lot of the damage more from your Q rather than the E and the ultimate. So like in game 1, for example, where Knight built the full damage build, so we had like the Death Cap, the Luden's Echo, the Void Staff. That's much more built towards a team fighting comp, which I think is stronger in this situation. But for now, it's working out. He's got himself a triple kill. When they all clump up and the fight draws out, it has a lot more value. And he still has plenty of wave clear, so they're not too concerned about that.
Not just yet. Inhibitor still alive in that middle lane, slowly recovering. Tower in the bottom is being chipped away from as Flaxish with Stand United and Teleport available is applying pressure on the top lane. So Origen, can you do it again? Can you pull off the miracle and give your fans something they want? Show them that when your back is against the wall or when you're stood on the edge of a cliff, you can step up when it counts. Remember, loser is out. They go to Challenger Series in summer. Winner faces Fnatic Academy tomorrow in a best of 5 for the final spot in LCS in summer.
And you know, even if you fall off the cliff, right, you have to remember that if you believe you can fly, there's the possibility that you can touch the sky, right? And that's all Origen need to do. They just need to believe. The fans need to believe.
Problem is, you touch the sky for between 7 and 12 seconds, and then gravity introduces you to the ground.
I mean, that's true, but I wasn't thinking about the real science behind it. I mean, I don't want to say that belief makes you suddenly better at League of Legends, but for the time being, it's what the fans need to hope for, because Origen, their backs have been pushed against a corner.
Yes, they have.
And they're fighting for their lives, and right now, they still have that possibility. Baron respawning in about 25 seconds.
Also, it is a first to 3 Nexus wins, not 2, so therefore, Origen still have some room, but it's getting tighter and tighter. The noose is being pulled around their necks, and Knight has got his hands on the package, grouping up with the rest of Giants. It feels like Baron is going to be the objective, or at least vision for Baron is what they're fighting for.
And we have to remember that Giants have mainly been the control, or have mainly had the control, rather, of this game. And while they have had one bad fight, that does not mean that they are the ones in the dire situation. It is still up to Origen to find an avenue back into the game. And with the gold lead still heavily in the favor of Giants, a full itemization pretty much completed for Knight with the core being done. Giants, they're still making things difficult for OG.
Yeah, look at that vision, though. On your mini-map, bottom right-hand corner, Origen, they're playing with darkness. They simply do not have information. Tabs actually used his True Shot Barrage just to scout the Baron. This is a good sign here. Sartorius overheating and chasing down Flaxish. Although Baron is already secured. Knight and Memento, they just went for the two-man Baron. All the rest of Origen were kept busy.
I was watching Sartorius trade against Flax, and I was like,
so
oh, this actually could be really good.
For what it's worth, the responsibility of watching the action is the play-by-play. You need to be looking for those things.
I was like, the Baron has been slain. Wait, what? Oh. So now things become even harder for Origen, but they have done it before. They've done it.
They have. And Giants are now looking to open up the rest of Origen's base. I'm looking at the minimap. Where are the wards? Where are the waves pushing, rather? Insta-flash from Sartorius into the Ash Arrow. Hourglass will buy some time. Hustlin pulls the trigger ever so slightly too early. Knight is being burnt down by the Equalizer. That has actually bought some time. Origen will be able to successfully disengage. Tabs uses that Arcane Shift, and I'm looking at cooldowns. Stand United, Ash Arrow, Depth Charge. So Giants' primary initiation tools are now taking a nap.
Yes, they are. But they need to wake up soon because Giants, they're knocking onto that inhibitor. They have the Baron-empowered minions, and they're looking for game 2.
Where is Nahyun and Tabs? They're grouped up on the right of your screen. Dredgeline finds no target, and Origen not able or willing to initiate. Keep in mind, Wild Growth and Equalizer were not available either, so two really important cooldowns.
So I'm nitpicking a little bit here, but if Giants had slightly better side wave management, that could have very well been the end of the game. But now they have to go back, they have to reset the waves. Knight has to go back to base, so this bottom minion wave that's huge is also going to get cleared out. So again, this will be delayed for Giants. We're looking at another 42 to 45 minute game. But the Elder Dragon will be spawning in about 15 seconds.
Now remember, Giants were trying to trim and shape those side lanes when they ran into a Sartorius in the jungle. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here and say that I believe they were moving to, you know, give the side lanes a bit of a tidy up. As we see the Elder Dragon spawning, an angle I'm not quite familiar with. He's got a very blue mouth, I just noticed.
Yeah.
Anyone that was watching as closely as I was. Giants are going to now start off Elder Dragon with a minute left on Baron and no vision. Origen, they may be aware this is happening, and the loud roar of Elder will definitely give it away.
So Giants, they only have one, Drake. OG have actually done a good job of maintaining main priority over that neutral objective. But it doesn't matter, Giants is just going to add insult to injury as they continue their siege onto the base of Origen.
I mean, this is just so annoying to deal with, right? Elder Dragon, plus the poke from Corki and Ash, and
plus a 12,000 gold deficit.
Yes. Baron's going to wear... Look, Baron's going to wear off in 30 seconds, so that's a small advantage. Or not advantage, that'll be an equalizer, rather.
They've taken one nail out of my arm.
Sartorius is able to sidestep at least, get out of way of that Ash Arrow in the top tower. Knight and Flaxish able to solo this one down. Solo, duo this one down. Hustlin and Hiku. Hustlin tanks up most of that tower HP. Well, it sounds like Hiku's going to look for the focus. Okay, Memento. Now he's inside, looking at that mid inhibitor, looking for Tabs. Tabs is forced away. Guardian Angel's going to get popped. That will bring Memento back to life. Synchro is already down. Nahyun follows quickly after. Knight with a double kill and the Equalizer just to try and stall the fight. Nexus Tower is down, and the rest of Giants have super minions backing up. Tabs is the target as he's forced away by the Gatling cannon. The Nexus is fallen, and Giants are one win away from knocking Origen out of the LCS.
Smiles across the faces of Giants. Maintaining control pretty much consistently throughout that game. Their only blip was that big teamfight win right at the end, or more so towards the end, as Origen, they found that surprising fight. They were able to get a number of kills, and you think, oh, maybe the light is still there for Origen. Maybe they can still somehow turn that around. But Giants reasserted their control. They reasserted their dominance. And now they've gotten themselves another win in this best-of-5 series.
So tough. You know, you see Hustlin standing up at the end of the game and big smiles. 40 minutes to win this time around. You compare that to the faces on your screen right now, and you know, Synkrov and Peke Sartorius, they're struggling. You know, they're down 0-2. This could be it. This could be the end for
the reverse sweep. Oh no, that's
for the Origen organization. You know, the high highs from Challenger to Worlds to Challenger, 1 game away. I mean, this game again. I like the fact that Origen they changed their draft completely. Very different style. They were more willing to go for plays, but unfortunately they had mistakes that simply cost them too much.
They also drafted a very difficult to play composition. No tank is naturally harder than just playing a tanky top laner in the form of Shen. And while Sartorius did have a lot of really good equalizers, and I think a lot of the fights were played pretty well from Origen, their ability to set up those fights and the fact that they fell at such an early deficit once again is what made it difficult for them to really have any kind of control at any point in the game.
Well, on that bombshell, Origen are 1 loss away from losing their spots in the LCS. Let's check in with the analyst for Game 2. Information a little more.
Great. Nice English.
Information a little more.
Information.
Everybody do the dinosaur?
I mean, it works. Whatever, he got us here. Thank you very much, QuickShot. Of course, an incredibly bloody game at the end. There are a lot of close fights, but for the most part, it did feel very much like Giants was in control. Now, I was curious what you guys thought of the early to mid game. How did this compare to Game 1?
Jesus, what a nice analysis there.
I was just looking at my notes and I was kind of trying to find a point. So,
all right, Giants.
okay,
I'm gonna take over. I'm gonna take over.
Thank you, Crumble. Thank you, Crumble.
I think Giants still show that they have more composure.
Yes, I agree.
Despite there were a few moments where Origen was fighting back, there were a few good fights. But like the problem I have with Origen, there seems nothing coming out of them. Yes, you can gesture at me because you were smiling, but look at their like. They seem defeated right now.
I mean, I think how are you supposed to look at this point? You know, you've been losing all split long, and
but try something else.
Yeah, but like, I mean, they're dead serious faces and everything. I agree, like go in and shake up the pick and ban face, but like it feels like no matter what you pick, that is not the problem. It's what happens in the game on the rift.
But I think you go full Fiesta, and you pick every single comfort pick that has any element of cheese left, and you go like Kalista plus X lanes. Jungler, you try and level 2 gang something. I think Origen, they need to change something because even if they came in with mild leads at certain points, Giants was rotating faster with much better tempo. This is the Giants squad that in LCS was known for not really having the greatest, you know, macro understanding of the game.
But I do think Origen all split long have. This is gonna sound super weird, but like, they've been unable to create a real fiesta, and. Like, we haven't seen a game of Origen would pick full early game and just fight all the time. It would be super impactful, very, very bloody game.
Yeah.
The games that we call the clown fiestas of Origen were super slow. Nothing would happen for 10 minutes, a few kills here and there. Like, think back to the Rocket 75-minute game. So, I don't know if this team can pick for just early game and can just force team fights. I actually don't think they can.
And that almost feels like people are afraid to fail. Because
possibly
in those games where nothing matters and people just go in over and over, it's because people are okay with accepting failure. But for me, like Origen, every time it's like, can the jungler be here? Yes, maybe. Let's back off. And then they forget that he could be somewhere else. And they're like, no, everybody's afraid to go in or make a play. And at least I get the sense from Giants that they're willing to pull the trigger, even if they don't have perfect information.
And I think that's what I really like about Giants, and actually liked about them all split long, is they've had very good and fast-paced early games. They accepted very quickly in the LCS that they were not going to win that 35-minute Baron skirmish versus G2. They were more like, no, we need to get early advantages. And this series here, while it's only small leads to get in the early game, at least whenever there's an opening, Ash Arrow flies out, Q flash from Hosting, they're going for those fights and actually getting the kills from an Origen never seem ready to respond.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned, of course, at this point, because you say the last option, right, is to just go full comfort picks, do anything you can to find any kind of lead.
Hell, put Expect in mid. Like, at this point, like, what's he gonna do?
And I'm worried because we haven't, aside from Expect mid, they haven't won games. We don't have a comfort pick to reference to. We have no idea what this looks like for OG. And I'm like, do they even have those comfort picks up their sleeves, or have they been practicing these same picks we're seeing now in solo queue constantly?
If they're even playing solo queue.
I mean, they've never been playing. I've seen like Synkrov join the in-houses. They have like some of the other pro players, but it's just that's the problem. Like we haven't seen pure comfort picks, other than maybe like a Lee Sin for Synkrov could be one of them. I don't know if it's the time to go like a Giacomo comp with taps or something, but all of these are like situations we can't imagine actually being very successful. And that is the problem for this team and why they have only won 2 games, all split long. They entered the promotion tournament 0-3 against Misfits Academy, down 0-2 now to Giants. They might go through this entire promo tournament without winning a game as well. So there isn't really that one game we can be like, oh yeah, what they did in that game, we want to see that again. Because it's not really there.
Yeah, trying to lift spirits here.
You have to.
I think the only way Origen wins is if we say GG to Giants. It's a 2-0, and nobody's ever come back from a 2-0 in the promotion tournament. And we literally just jinxed the hell out of it.
All right, Alex Pim, thank you for your insight. To kind of wrap this up, I want to take one last look at Giants. What have they been doing well? Is this a game where we can take anything away for Giants to say, hey, you've improved in this area, or hey, these are your strong points as a team?
I like how proactive they are when it comes to starting fights.
As vague as it was, and as vague as the concept tempo is, Giants at multiple points, by being faster on the ball and pushing the right waves out and then basing, generally had better tempo on a lot of these plays. Like, basically what it means is they would arrive to some of these turrets faster than Origen, so they could take the turret, push out the next wave. Then when Origen tried to match, Giants was much faster on the next turret and then much faster on the next objective. So they're definitely outclassing a full tier almost in the macro department compared to Origen.
And I think also a guy we highlighted earlier was Knight, as a guy like who kind of needed to step up. I think his Corki performance here was good. Like, he was very aggressive in fights. Victor in the last game was fine as well. So I think right now against Origen, Giants are not lacking carries, which is a really good thing for them. Like, Hiku, Knight, and Memento can all win the game for these guys.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. Giants are 1 win away from a chance to save their spot in the EU LCS. We're going to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Ashara down the mid lane. Come on, Season 1 tactics, I believe. Fire it, fire it, fire it. Who is the target? Synkrov caught on the back end. That's going to be about Max Link. Caught out by the Cocoon. Able to flash away. The gravity field would have slowed down anybody in the Equalizer. That just sends a line in the sand. Nexus Tower is down. And the rest of Giants have super minions backing up. Tabs is the target. He's forced away by the Gatling cannon. The Nexus is fallen. And Giants are 1 win away from knocking Origen out of the LCS.